What's up, everybody? It's Heat Override, and I'm ready to bring the pain for you. And some wild times. Oh, yeah. Man, life has been so crazy, so wild. I just thought that I wanted to take a break from it all and just do a podcast about me, right? Or just what's going on with me and my family and our lives. Like, not that anybody really cares or anybody really needs to know. Not that, a few friends on Facebook couldn't see or anything like that if they pay attention. Oh, yeah, learn to share. Huh? Yeah. Right. So let's get right to it. So I'm going to I got something at the end of this episode. It's going to be a new skit. So, oh, man.
Got nothing to do with the macho man. Oh, it's gonna have everything to do with
Going to have to wait and see. Right. So let's just start it off. Thank you for listening to the show today. You can find all of my content. That's Miss Heat Override at Twitter with just the O. You can find me at the 00, but that's my Erie's Macho Man. So why I wanted to bring this together and get it going on my YouTube, you got to get there too, because that gets you a lot of my video podcast, as well as getting to my Spreaker. Join and just follow. You don't have to do my supporters only club, although you won't get my things that make me a jerk. And I mean, dang, you don't know what you're missing. That's some fun stuff, right? So, yeah, you got to get there. You got to You can find me on Spotify, Apple. I'm just getting all this out the way because I just want to go, right? Man, I mean, just getting the word that my brother passed away, and I ain't bringing this one down, weeks ago. It's just brought so much more into my life, my retrospective. Of course, that kind of opens you up. What's crazy is this Saturday is also the last time I ever hugged my mom. It's the anniversary of that. My mom passed away on 3/19. My brother passed away on 2/19. So, I've been in a lot of up and down motions. Like, I haven't cracked. Don't get me wrong. I've been at my job doing my thing. I'm sitting here doing all the great podcasts that all of you have graciously watched and followed and liked. And for all your every support that you do for this podcast, I thank you. And when I got through it all and being able to make that podcast about Tom and then the video game podcast, I really thought the video game podcast was really the most healing one when I did the video game music one because it was long, but it was all those songs. They just let me relive all those moments about my brother. And I think that's really what a lot of us always do when we lose people. And that's the key sometimes in life is doing what you do as a hobby. And apparently, on top of all my DFS articles and everything at drroto.com, one of the biggest hobbies I do is podcasting. And I enjoy it completely. So to connect that with the music and to do that, again, I want to go shout out to Alex, the messenger, and everybody else, Martyrus and Professor Tom. And now, I got Runer9 and Bedrock. I've been listening to all that, and it's led me to this Kung Fu Carlito, dude. Like, I've always thought the Kung Fu Carlito, but I never really thought that, So I'm just gonna move forward, like, because I'm so happy that these people have brought me together, and these people have healed me, right? But I ran into this dude, Kung Fu Carlito, and he was like, he was on a podcast from beat 'em ups, like like Final Fight games and things like that on the VG Embassy. And I was listening, and he was like, "Yeah," he was like, "On my normal podcast, we review old kung fu flicks," and I'm like, "Oh, what?" And look, so I hit him up immediately this morning. I was like, "Yo, I did not know that you actually have a show that does just kung fu flicks," and we just started going back and forth. The next thing you know, I'm fucking like, I'm over there, and he's giving me quotes, and I'm like, he's like Chen Zhen from Jingwu, the best. It's so crazy. And you talk about some of the craziest karate quotes ever. Like, I mean, the list goes on. You could go anything with Bruce Lee and Jet Li and Jackie Chan and Rumble in the Bronx. I mean, don't get it wrong, man. I'll tell you one of the coolest fights, and it was really just it wasn't even one of the last fights, was in Kiss of the Dragon when Jet Li fights the twins and Mystical Fever comes on. Whoa, man. Mystical fever. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, again, these people inspired me to do that. And now I have this whole new avenue. So now I brought up Invincible Super Chan. So if you don't know, Invincible Super Chan said it was banned in 48 countries. I want to know what 48 countries banned this movie. This is hilarious. It must be the 48 countries. And unfortunately, I'm sorry if any of you are listening to this podcast in those countries banned this movie because it really says nothing. It must be about them. They're like, no, that movie offends us. Yes, ban. You are missing one of the funniest movies ever, like Mandarin films, kung fu flicks, whatever you want to call them. It's so hilarious. So Invincible Super Chin, if you go to YouTube and you literally watch the first 10 minutes, it sets up the movie. And then like there's a 45-minute fight scene, and then there's like this huge, you remember those little microphones back in the day? And you would talk to, I could probably do it here, but I ain't gonna try and mess around with my Electron and try to get my voice all right. But they would have this electron voice and like blah, 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 and it would echo your voice. Well, it does some flashback with that, right? Bam. Next thing you know, he's trying to get this journey. He's running across people like random bosses. This one dude is sitting here on a freaking kite, floating over some water, and he's throwing water bombs at Super Chan, and Super Chan has to swim, so he's hopping out the water doing his ninja moves, and I'm just like, what is going on? And the quote with to get it to not to veer off because this episode's about everything, right? All I want is Mo Yan Chen. Why won't you give it to me? Why must all of you die so easily? I'm telling you, I am telling you, if if you watch that movie, the beginning alone sells that movie. And then he finally fights Mo Yan Chen. And he's not the last boss. That's the funny thing. Or whatever you want to call it, the last foe, right? It gets just insane. So that's just thing, and that community really brought me to making that podcast, and being able to heal. And then when I went, of course, into my podcast about my brother Tom, it just really worked out. Man, that was some cool stuff. But yeah, so this weekend I was trying to get out different podcasts. I got my draft podcast I just did out for Dr. Roto. And I wanted to get out, because I have a point fighting tournament on Saturday. So we're going to head to March Madness. And, last time I was in Ohio and last time I was at the March Madness was really bad. I did bad. It was my second tournament and I was still really unpolished. I was within the first year of my injured knee. So I had injured my knee in February the previous year. And then I went to my first tournament in that December. So this was the March after that. And I went there and it just my knee and then some bad habits that I picked up along the way just really didn't work out. So really I was limited. And then my punches apparently were not of technique. So I was disqualified to the last place, which was fourth. I got a medal for it. But that was kind of like it wasn't bottom for me. But what it was it was kind of the start because I was letting my emotions get a hold of me and I was still kind of learning this whole fight thing and how to use the ring and just to get better overall. And so, we go forward with my karate journey into this next tournament that was August. And that tournament was really good. And that one I lost it again. They ended up putting an 18-year-old and a 23-year-old in that tournament. And there was two phantom kicks to the head. They caught me and I was up by 1 point going into the last 10 seconds. And I thought that I could just crush them out and blitz them. And somehow they gave him that 2-point kick and I couldn't get to him in time to tie it to send it to overtime. So I learned my lesson. And then I destroyed that 23-year-old. I destroyed him. Afterwards, this really cool dude, Justin, who's kind of like been one of the black belt that's kind of been watching me and he kind of reps my fight, comes up to me, goes, you can be really good, but you let your attitude, you let that get in the way. So I could kind of understood that was my first thing. So that was my first win. And not my first win overall, because I did win my first match overall. And I did win a match in that March Madness as well, too. So it just kind of was like, all right, so I won that match, got my third place. This was best. But my kata on time, right now, my kata is number one. I'm doing katas. I'm earning all the points. Like during this time period, I was number one in PA. So what was really what so I had to continue to work better. I had to continue to get my balance right and unlearn those things that bad knee that, during that rehab and doing all the stuff I had to do to that knee, get back, kind of put me to this point. So, I don't want to extend too much on the karate, but so I've worked really hard with my team over the years, really hard with my leg, really hard, just throwing a lot of kicks, just dedicating myself, trying to motivate others along the way. Have been leading to some crazy, crazy quotes being said. And, just like one last night, man, I was like, that's not sweat. You just went through a car wash. I don't even know what that means. And we're just all dead laughing, man. And we just have a good time, but we train so hard. We spar hard. And that's what prepares us. So going into that tournament, so coming off that win, my next tournament was that December and I won. And then I went to my next tournament in April last year and I won. I fought two dudes that were massively huge, about a 6'2 guy, 6'4", 6'5 guy. And this dude was, if you've seen the videos and you've seen the pictures of me, it's literally this guy. It looks like he's in mountains above me. And I got him. I got him. So, I overcome things. Something that my brother always taught me, sometimes I was always the small. I mean, he's my little brother, but he was bigger than me, my protector, the way I said things. So I'm sitting here and I win. And then I went into I went into the next tournament, which was summer, which had been the summer Shiai. And I had a really good fight with a dude that was, it was his first tournament. He was a great fighter, but his coach was literally like super linked to my coach. Like they knew each other. They coached, they worked together. Whatever the story is, I don't know it fully, but they know each other. And his name is a prominent name in the karate industry in Erie, Pennsylvania. So, this was a chess match between both of them. And honestly, I should have just blitzed the dude out because I probably could have ended it 10. I could have ended up where I got a 10-point win over him and just would have ended the match. I played around. I let him back into it, went to overtime. But man, the punishment this guy took. I mean, I was slamming him in the head. And I know we're not supposed to have like contact, but sometimes things happen. And, he was taller than me too. And for some reason, when I was fighting him, it seemed like I was the bigger dude. I was a bigger dude. So I dominated in that fight. And during some of those videos, the one judge is laughing at me because I'm not listening. I tried all this dumb stuff. And I'm really what I should have did was just blitz the dude right from the go. And a lot of people could go, well, hey, let's do his podcast. Now we know how to beat him. No, I've worked hard. Just this last week, I kept everybody away with my sidekick. And I was fighting, a couple new fighters that I had not fought, kickboxers that had come through our place because, do kickboxing, MMA, and karate, point fighting, a lot continuous. So we do a lot at TKO Erie. And it's like, I get to that point and I'm like, oh man. And here I am. I go into, I'm getting ready to go into the December matchup, the Christmas Kumite, and a deer randomly gets slammed in my car by a truck giving me a concussion. So I had to miss and I had to see something that I could have accomplished that day. I could have accomplished a lot that day if I would have just been able to compete. So now I was humbled. And coming off all those wins, coming off the domination, coming off those wins I've had over the last, going back to the last Christmas Kumite when I fought this dude Brian, he was really, really good and he was a lot younger than me. And it was, I got a compliment and my sensei doesn't compliment us. He compliments the team, but a guy like me, I'm 45 right now. I'm going to be 46. So I don't really need compliments, but they feel good. And he said that was a really great fight. So I head into this one. I'm probably going to have 2 to 3 fights. I am definitely ready. I feel good. I felt great Wednesday and it's just time to put it together. And hey, you got to go out there. Anything can happen in point fighting, but it's how you perform. It's what you do. And it's how you leave it out there. When you wear those colors, when you wear that brand, you have to make sure that you always remember to bring the pain. Woo-wee. I mean, I'm going to say I'm a point fighter with the podcast name Bring the Pain. I mean, ain't nobody else got that. And if they did, they still ain't me. Ooh, yeah. So, I don't want it to run too long. And so get ready. We have a lot more content coming up for you at Dr. Roto. course, with the draft now being the next step and still moves being made right now, trades going down right now, you know, it's just, I mean, you just got Drew Lock getting traded, or showing up. You got Sam Howell to Seattle now. You got Geno Smith there. So now Sam Howell's in the mix. I mean, what is going on? Like, I thought he was supposed to be good. And then everybody's like, no, we don't really like him. And now he's up there. So, so many things are happening. That's what you need to stay tuned for. That's why being part of drroto.com is so awesome. And that's what also inspires me. That's part of my hobby, doing this podcast for Dr. Roto. And just being able to be around that whole staff and seeing them support me and seeing them grow and seeing like the one and done show. I love the way Jay begins his stuff from podcasting from somewhere that's really nowhere, or whatever he says. I literally love the way he starts that. It's like what I like to do with my podcast. I want to be different. I want to be more edgy. And I know that sometimes I am loud and that sometimes, I am rough on the delivery. That is because that's how I want to deliver that. I want to do that because it maybe sometimes it's annoying to other people and might draw people away. But at the same time, when you're sitting there and you're really taken aback, you're like, nobody else does this. Yeah, and nobody can channel that energy. And that's why going like to somewhere like the Fantasy Football Expo a couple years ago and running into Kevin, part of the Trophy Smack people, that was a great experience. And just having like that interaction, that first thing when all the other experts and everything and fans all left, and we're talking like Bob Harris was there and everything. So you get to shout out. And all these people I got to meet for the first time, like in person. I used to listen to them on the radio, call into their shows, but now that I'm part of Dr. Roto, I can't really do that all the time. I shouldn't, but I still miss those good times. Like I miss calling into Jeff Mann's show because I used to he'd be like, whoa. I mean, I think I should be able to call it once. I'm calling you, Jeff. I ain't gonna say when, but I'm gonna call you, Jeff. If you hear this podcast, I'm calling you. Anyway, or somebody tell Jeff Mans I'm gonna call him one day. Oh yeah. So, you got everything going on, and just things are just like it seems like it's rushing, right? Rushing towards my next birthday, rushing. But the thing is that what I love about this is that I'm spending a lot of this time in the dojo with, my dojo family, but my daughter, and I'm coming home and I've been able to spend a lot more time with my wife. Like this is coming to the end of the season for her, so we're gonna have a lot of time coming up together. Like when and she gets her Bling You Crazy going a lot more during the summer, so you can see her live, watch her, and then just enjoying it. It's so fun. You don't always have to just buy jewelry. Sometimes just tuning in is fun. And then you get me all crazy. I'm saying toodles and wow. Heat Override says toodles. Yeah, I did. Uh-huh. Yeah. So that's what I love. And I really, 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 really stress that we are going to get a pre-WrestleMania podcast out. And I'm definitely going to be looking for the Draft Kings thing that they do. They always do a free pool and you get in, you win money. Last time they did one, I won a lot of money. And I think the people that got it all right won like $400 or $500 each off of some wrestling questions. So I will give my thoughts and things. And I definitely want to have the wife and the daughter on for that episode so that they can all vote too. I mean, of course, my wife's going to be able to go and make her own bets and say her own things, right? And then I will do mine. And then of course my daughter will just write it down. We'll see who's right, who's wrong. I have so much planned for you at Bring the Pain. I also have been in the works with another podcast that's just about to start up. And so this person's name, you will find out in the thing, but you will know that it's just the tip. And he likes a little more. It's going to be a little more, not say conspiracy related, but it's going to be more learning. That's why he just wants to talk and educate people. He doesn't want to argue with anybody. He's not trying. He's like, look, we don't need to argue. Here's just these facts, and that's all. So when his show comes out, that's going to be really fun to get back into some of that with myself because I haven't done a lot of things like that. And because Bring the Pain is so versatile right now and touching so many people, I want to make sure that I hit all of my fans, all of the aspects that now, of course, this will be his show. So I will be a guest at that time. But at the same time, it's no difference that he will come on Bring the Pain. And when he comes on, there's going to be things that will be covered. And that's why I'm trying to bring this, all my Painbringers together and get one harmony. one little happy thing going on. But this is why I love, and I think that this is what life should be about. It should be about goals. It should be about hobbies. It should be about the little things like playing video games with your daughter and your daughter's friends. And then, you're just like the dad, and then you're playing with your daughter's friend, dad. Now it's our daughters and us playing together and talking football, just having a good time and just nerfing people. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Getting them first places, man. Yeah. Yeah. We love it, man. We just have fun. But and a lot of people would look down on that. A lot of people can turn to things like you got dude at the Oscars, good old whatever. I ain't even Wolfgang dude or not. He's not even Wolfgang. Well, I don't even know. But anyway, he's talking about like if I'm happy I didn't get a controller in my hand because I was able to dedicate my time to music. Yes, when I grew up and on my previous podcast, I said that a lot of the gamers when we would play Street Fighter, a lot of the ones that weren't that good were usually the musicians, but they were crafting their own, right? But that doesn't mean that they were better. Heck, we used to play WWF No Mercy, and one of the best drummers in Erie, probably one of the best drummers around. Like this dude was awesome. His name was Chris, right? Like you want to look up his work, look up Abnegation, and you'll find him. So go ahead. There's your plug. Oh yeah. So when you do that, you get that you vibe. He was great at WWF No Mercy. So it just really was about the game. That means like when you take a diss at that, that would be like me saying I'm a podcaster and you should never listen. Well, you probably shouldn't listen to news, but people still do. And that doesn't make you right or wrong or less of a person. Look, you just want to get caught up. And that's what kind of podcasting has been trying to do a lot faster because, a lot of shows have to be made and a lot of shows are going on. They can't break cycles sometimes unless it's like a state of an emergency thing. So a podcaster after a huge trade or a podcaster after a huge event can weigh in on that immediately. Only they can give their thoughts for 10 minutes. I mean, I was listening to Tosh show and Tosh went live just because somebody took all of the pizza sauce or whatever he was looking for. They took all the cans, and I was like, "Oh, that's like things that make me a jerk episode." Someone takes everything, and now you have nothing. Now you got to go to another store. Oh man, this has been great to catch up, but definitely I already have. So I have a fellow named Coop coming on. I've actually known him since he was like a baby because he's my longest friend of all time, the guy who makes my Bring the Pain music, DJ Chaos. That's his nephew. So I know him. I'm gonna have him on because man, we want to talk sports. He's a huge Pittsburgh Steeler fan, and he's edgy too. I love his edge. I'm gonna have my buddy Brian on. Me and Brian are trying to get a little controversial, a little bit of educational work talk, like work things, like things that go on at work and stuff. I want to do that with him because we've always had this little thing. Like, I mean, we all know that going to work sucks, and we all know that a lot of us do it, and a lot of us love it. A lot of us just do it to do it, and a lot of us have other aspirations. So with those aspirations, sometimes it's fun to just talk about like some rotten employee that you're like, yeah, man, this guy calls off all the time and he still has a job. I call off one day and they're talking about writing me up, things like that. Things that make me a jerk. So, when you get all that, you add it up. This is what I am presenting to all of you. And I'm still not done with my Erie's Hometown series. I've definitely already played. Both these guys are in Erie. They come from walks of life. And so we're going to talk about that. That's going to be part of the Hometown series, looking for people that, to get my podcast more known locally because, with Dr. Roto, a lot of people can just go to Dr. Roto and see Bring the Pain. But a lot of people in Erie don't really even know I exist. And the content that I put out on Dr. Roto, in seeing that Erie doesn't have a DFS community at all. Yes, there's people that play DFS, but there's no reporting on it. I literally, and I don't know if there's anybody else out there that exists. And I don't see them because I'm part of the Erie Podcast Network. I literally think I am the only DFS show on the entire airwave in Erie. And I'm definitely the only DFS podcast featured on a nationally, a worldwide level with Dr. Roto. And again, you can find him. You could call into him. He's an amazing dude on Saturdays and Sundays on Sirius XM. And the shows that we do, the things we do at Dr. Roto, just is kind of the whole culmination. So I want to get to all these podcasts before it gets back into football season, because we all know that last year I really amped it up with the 3 podcasts, and I had so much fun doing it. And it brought so many people like you, all of you Painbringers, to bring the pain. And it really makes me feel like, you are all part of that healing process that I just went through. The healing process that when, win, lose, or draw on Saturday, I know that that day will always remind me of the day I last hugged my mom, the last time that she said, Bobby, I love you, right? I will always remember that. And that all culminates to my hobbies, the life that I live. It may be hectic, it may be crazy, but there's always one thing you will always know. And you will always know that I want you to always bring the pain with me. Woo! All right, everybody. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for? Yes, I will deliver you a pizza. That is my new skit. It is my new thing. I've always wanted to make a book. I said I could write a book. I used to deliver pizza a long time ago, like some people do. You get that money. I'm not going to say a lot of things about it because, I just made a lot of money doing it for a very long time. And hey, so I have a lot of stories. So I can't, I can single out so many different stories. So since this podcast was a little more PG, we're gonna keep it PG here. So one time I went to a delivery, right? And they didn't have enough, but they didn't really know English. So I was sitting there and I got the total, and I'm like, 1979 or something like that. And they come up with like 16. And I'm like, I need 1979. So, you take it in 1979. And I go, you need more money. So, yeah, and I think the whole thing that they was trying to avoid me in the whole language barrier thing was it because I heard somebody in there go, check the other couch. And I'm out there holding the pizza. And I'm like, I know I ain't getting a tip. I don't need one. It said check the other couch. Like, seriously, are you? They brought this bag of change. This bag of change. And they were like, they were like, we think there's enough. And I looked, I saw like, at least 8 quarters. There's a ton of pennies, some dimes and nickels. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm like walking away. And all I could think about was that check the other couch. I mean, I don't believe you had a lot of couches to check because when I got back to the store, they actually tipped me $4. I was like, I couldn't believe that, man. I got the tip. I had a memorable moment. That's PG for you. The other ones, I'll leave those for yeah, yeah, you know. Pizza Guy sees it all, really, he does. And I won't go too much farther into that. But have a great day, everybody, and always remember to bring the pain. Like, follow, share. Without you, I can't do this. And with those numbers coming in, I don't want to stop. Yeah.